Hello, and welcome to the Desire of Horror podcast, the show where we review horror movies and discuss what these films say about the nature of human desire. I'm Charla, and with me always is Marty. How are you doing
Hey,
today, Marty?
I'm good. Hey, how you doing, Shar? Sorry
Doing
about my
great.
camera. It does this all the time. I have no idea how to make it
What is
stop.
it
But anyways,
zooming in? Is it
I
zooming
just
in?
does it
Oh, look
randomly. I have
at
no
you.
control.
Hold
Well, no,
still, Marty.
it's done that. It's done that. It does that in so many different episodes. I don't know why. I
I don't
can't
know.
figure it out. But anyways,
It's
I
it's
just
cool.
not techno
We
savvy.
could make it like so it's a dramatic effect during
Yeah,
some
I
of your
I
like
guess,
it.
but it
statements
just
that you
like
can.
goes back and forth a whole bunch of times. It's really annoying.
It's
But
awesome.
anyway, oh sure, okay.
And we have Andrea with us again.
All
Welcome,
right.
Hi.
Andrea.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Tonight we are going to be discussing Out of Darkness from 2024. So, Out of Darkness, the release date, the US release date, February 9th, 2024, directed by Andrew Cumming.
Yep.
The screenplay was written by Ruth Greenberg, and this movie is rated R for violence and grisly images, which there are a lot of
Oh,
those in this
so one
movie.
that made me like I honestly gagged. Like I couldn't we'll get to that scene,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I think
oh
I think I might know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we definitely know which one she's talking about. That was a brutal
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, yeah.
the it was life was brutal, nasty, Brutus, and short in a state of
Oh,
nature.
yeah, good. How anyone, yeah, survived. I mean, I guess you could see like I cried bogus on that old man.
Right,
He would have died
right.
before then, especially being such
Yeah,
a tool.
yeah, I know. Okay. In Upper Paleolithic Europe, 45,000 years ago, six humans arrived on the shores of an unknown land in search of a better life. We have group leader Adam, which is very close to Adam, which I don't think that that is a mistake. I thought that was
Nope.
pretty clever. So Adam, played by Choku Modu, his pregnant mate Ava, how did they pronounce her name?
I don't think
Avi, that's what it
Avi,
was.
that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
Avi,
It sounded like,
Avi,
hmm
played
which is like
by,
Eve. Yeah.
yeah, which is like Eve. Avi, played by Elola Evans. Adam's younger brother, Greer, played by Kit Young. And Adam's 11-year-old son, Huron, played by Luna M Mwizi. And then we have a young woman, Bea, played by Sophia Oakley Green. We also have Odell, an older gentleman, is what I put, played by Arno Lou, or sorry, Arno Lewin. And so they're all together in this group, right? As they journey toward the mountains, searching for a cave to settle, the group encounters a mysterious creature, and Huron is taken at night. But to go back a little bit, what do you guys think about our six humans and on their journey to find this quote unquote better life?
I like it as kind of an immigrant story, frankly. It's
Ooh,
just to show
okay.
again how human beings have always, for any number of reasons, sometimes it's just
Mhm.
wanderlust, I suppose, but so for so many reasons, like borders are so artificial. Human beings have always, sought out different places. They make it clear, through, through the subtitles. I should say about the invented languages that, and even
Oh
the
yeah.
names that it was invented by a actual paleo linguistic
Was it
professor.
Daniel
So,
Anderson?
oh, is
Daniel
that right?
Anderson?
I don't remember. I don't remember the name of the guy. I just know that it was they
I
actually
do too.
hired a real linguist to make
Mhm.
this language. So yeah.
So the note that I have is this was part of my fun facts. But the note that I have is this film is in entirely an artificial language named Tola, invented by Daniel Anderson, and it's based on Arabic and Basque. Does that sound?
Bosk.
Basque, just Basque. Okay, okay, yeah.
It's a people group they had a really difficult time figuring out the origins of in Spain, and they
Okay.
just recently found out, and this movie kind of reflects some of that. understanding that the Basque people were in Spain like way, 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 way early because it's not. Basque
Mm.
is interesting language because it Arabic on the one hand is a Indo-European language, very loosely, but Basque was not. It was not any kind of
Mhm.
language. Has no other parallel groups. It's not Celtic. It's nothing. They could not figure out what it was,
Hmm.
and so that this is why it's extremely early. So way
But it
before.
sounds like really natural, right? I mean, it flows.
It
I
does.
honestly thought that I was like, my kids were trying to figure out like what language it would be. And some, one of my kids was like, "Oh, that's Russian," or I'm like, "No, it sounds almost Italian." And I was like, "No." And then I'm like, "Duh, it's made up. It's completely,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever." But it
It
sounded
it
natural.
it does. And I want to give a round of applause to these actors because
Right.
I don't even know how you would even,
I know, incredible. So
just to
convincingly.
yeah,
Hmm.
just to, learn lines is hard enough. But then now you have to learn lines that is in a language that isn't even real. So
Right.
yeah, it's very convincing. They did a great job. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just thinking, I thought that one of the opening scenes, so like, obviously it starts with they're on the beach and then they kind of
Yes.
talk, but that first night is
Mm-hmm.
sort of that first, like really to me, the distinguishing one. And so that's kind of how you get introduced to the characters, right? Of like
Yes.
how like,
Yes.
actually I think they do open with like the tell me a story, kind of thing.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
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 I
And
love
so
that so much. Yeah.
I do
yeah,
too.
I thought
I
that
do
was so
too.
interesting because you start seeing already like, why are the different characters there, their
Right.
relationships. But then it
Right.
also introduces the first, like one of those really big themes in this of the darkness, right? And
Yes.
some of those cool camera shots that, if they just used only the lighting from the fire,
Mm-hmm.
or natural, like, shaded sunlight or whatever.
Right.
But that was, that was really interesting to kind of you already see like that there's that circle of light, and you
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm.
see from the light into the
Yes.
darkness.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I thought that was really really good introduction, to the group
I did
itself.
too. I did too. It was really well done.
How long ago did you say it was, Shar? Like, or around, or
45,000 years ago.
all right? So around the
Yeah.
time these are the a lot around the time of some of the very first cave drawings and like
Hmm.
indicators of human culture, that we have in Europe. But the fact that they were storytellers is something that we know from cave drawings and from
Right. Right.
yeah, and just from
Yeah.
the various artifacts that we have found that seem to indicate almost like characters from stories that were known to them. And I like Andrea pointing out that so many of these early stories are, well, they're very important to what I study, which is history of religion. So, if you want to call it mythology or whatever, but they're ways of talking about dealing with, yeah, this theme, this very basic theme between darkness and light. So, thus the title Out of Darkness. But yeah, these, and then you get this movie that's about like the monster versus the people and who's the monster and where's the darkness and where's the light. You get this confusion of position that I think is so I don't know, redolent with uh, any kind of conversation about encountering the other, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and especially this immigrant kind of a story that there are
Mhm.
already people there. They're leaving because of some sort of distress that they were in for a better life, and somebody's already there. So yeah.
Yeah. And sees them as the threat, to them
Yeah, yeah, totally
coming
would be.
in,
They would be the threat. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Which is, I guess, and I think it's in that same scene, right, at the fireplace, and I might be mixing this up a little bit, but like when Adam,
Adam. Yeah.
Adam, because Odo's telling that story, talking about like demons and that the land is
Hmm.
a, an old dark place, that the land that
Yeah.
they've landed on, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's, and then he also, says that, Adam says that he is the light. He's going to bring the light, to this
Yeah.
land, and,
Yeah.
trust him because he's, the alpha male.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and then Odell says, the danger in bringing light to a dark place is that you might find out what lives in the darkness. And
Well
that one
said.
gave me like chills.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, that's
100%.
cool. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And I like the fact that we are listening to them tell a story in a movie where as a society we still love hearing stories, right? We read books, we watch movies, we wanna hear other, people's lives and have hope and have all of those things presented to us. So I thought that was interesting as well. Okay, so yeah, 11-year-old Huron is taken in the middle of the night. The group is forced to follow Adam when he insists on going after it in the woods. So we don't know what has taken Huron, right? They think it's a creature, basically, right? Because they hear like howling and creature-like sounds coming, um, through the mountains and through the woods and at night. So Adam's like hell bent on going and finding out who stole his son. And the group is very hesitant because they're like, listen, dude, if you leave, we're all gonna die. Like we can't survive without you. And I don't know, like there's a part of me which I get, but there's also like his younger brother G G- Greer is kind of like over there like, "Oh, well, what about me?" Like I'll take this, group on and they're like, "Nah, dude, like you're not you're not up to it." Which I thought was very interesting. Especially what we see happens to Greer later, right?
right.
He's got some tasks that he's faces and doesn't really take on those tasks very well.
Yeah. Is this also, Charlotte, I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you with all your expertise too in like the horror movies. So that's a technique that they use here, right, with the monster, where they're just you hear it, you're
yeah,
hearing like rustling. It
yeah.
kind of builds as the movie goes along, right?
Right,
To
right,
getting actual glimpses, right, until they kind of
right.
peek at this. But at this point, I think sort of that fear factor. I mean, you see that's kind of like where some of the horror, is coming out of or like the real big fear here is that we
Yeah,
can sort of say, it's there, or
right,
something
right.
is there that we
Yeah,
don't, it's our imagination, right, at that point as
yeah.
to what could be doing these
Yeah,
things.
100%. And I think that's why this movie falls into the horror category,
Hmm.
right? Because you don't know what it is, right? I mean, we later find out what it is, but at first we have no idea. So we're just in the dark as the group is because we're like, oh, okay, that sounds like some kind of creature, but we can't, it's not, it doesn't sound like any kind of creature we've ever heard before, right? So what
Right.
is it? Immediately, I think as a society, we go to, if we don't understand it, it's supernatural, right? It's
Mhm.
a demon, devil, something that we're not familiar with, something of not of this world because we can't understand it.
Right.
So that's why, like, when Marty was pushing this movie, at first I was kind of like, I don't think it's really nature horror. I don't think it's really a horror movie because of what we find out that happens later. But he reminded me, okay, but for like the first, you know, hour of this movie, we have no idea what
Right.
is happening. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you're right. That is definitely horror. So yeah. Yeah.
Even the way the forest is portrayed when they have to go in it, it's so
Mhm.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
just like they look at it and you just don't, you don't realize because we don't see a wild forest ever. I mean, maybe you guys have, I don't know, but like it just make it look so ominous. Like, no, we're not
Right.
going in there. We're going around. It's such an
Well,
interesting call.
yeah, but
Like
the
because it
branches and the
becomes like
stems are
the
dead,
awful,
right?
yeah, it becomes the truly haunted forest, the forest you heard about in Hansel and Gretel, like
Mhm.
where there is real danger lurking. It's so hard to imagine what a forest like that were like. I love the place where, some of my and Andrea's family comes from the Black Forest region of Germany, which is this well-known rural, almost magical forest that so many of the Brothers Grimm's tales come from.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard of
And
it.
so,
Right.
and so,
Yeah.
like, talk about stories about darkness and body horror and everything else. I mean, that is
Mhm.
very much a part of forests. So there's like just this tremendous contrast between them being in the wide open, where I assume they went for safety because they could see anything approaching, and then when they run into the forest after heron or whatever the child,
Yeah.
and then things just really fall apart from there. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I think there's that imagery late a little bit later because they go around the forest first, right? And then later
Hmm.
when they go into it, I mean the tree branches or the trunks, it's shown as almost like a dead and very dense,
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
Um, from the top it's green, but like,
Yeah,
on
it's
down
dead at the
below
lower
it's very
level, right? Because
dead.
they're all, yeah, they've all competed each
Yeah.
other
Right,
out of the
Right.
exactly. And which is
Yeah.
space
a
or
kind of
whatever.
a narrative in and of itself, right? That's this
Yeah.
competing. But I also saw some of the lighting that they used and some of the imagery of the dead tree trunks almost look like a prison, kind of like it's
Mm.
trapping them in there, and keeping them like
Yes.
prison bars of some kind or a cage.
Yeah.
And and they kind of talk about that as being like, if they're trying to escape and they don't, they end up going in circles at one point, when they're after Adam leaves them. But
Right. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so they become lost in the forest, and Adam attempts to track the creature alone as darkness falls. But he is attacked, and he's brought back to the group's camp by Greer, and he is severely wounded. I mean, like
uh,
his
I could not.
jaw is basically
This is the scene,
ripped
I assume,
off.
right, Andrea?
Yes,
Yeah,
I was just gagging and I'm like, I can't look. And then even the sounds that they
that's
were
what. Yeah,
making, it was the
exactly.
sounds because I was like, oh God,
Oh,
he can't breathe. I'm like, I got so claustrophobic from that
yeah,
scene.
yeah,
And just grossed out. But they had like the tar, kind of dripping out with you just couldn't tell.
yeah.
But like
Oh,
he
yeah.
had been turned, like his face was turned into a monstrous, kind of
Basically,
thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's I think that's what it is. It's the vision of what he looks like and the gurgling sounds
yes,
that is
yeah.
just like it made me just it was just so
I'm like,
gross
oh
and like
God,
super
somebody put him out of his
unsettling.
misery. Like I'm like,
Yes, yes.
go Baya for
Oh, yes, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. The group decides that Adam needs to be mercy killed, but Greer, who should be doing it, right? They're trying, they're like, Greer, you've got to do this, and he is unable to do it. So here comes Bea, my girl Bea,
badass
uh,
Baya.
badass Bea. She kills Adam and suggests that they eat him. And I
Mm.
was like, hell yeah, let the cannibalism begin.
Yeah, it was
I
interesting
know.
that
I was like,
they
stop being such a little wuss, Greer.
yeah,
Like,
they
as
need
he
the
keeps complaining
calories.
about it. I'm like,
You're dying. Like
who's
you're
gonna
literally
tell? It's not
dying.
gonna be like
Well,
Right.
also it's
You're
kind of
literally
interesting
dying.
because there was when like looking at the anthropological record, trying to figure out when cannibalism became like a thing, as a problem. I mean, so there's evidence of it in every culture, in every place, ever. And so it's just like, when did it become a taboo? So like there's and like, when did it have this particular meaning that was different? Because there were discoveries of cannibals, active cannibals, in like Papua New Guinea, kind of famously, I guess. And like sometimes it was engaged in as like this way of disrespecting your enemy among some folks. Like after you killed your enemy, you ate them and like took their power or whatever, and just it was a way of
you like eat
disgracing
their
them.
organs, especially, right? I mean, you'd be
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a whole big thing that you did with with your tribe or whatever. But then there were some times, very interesting. There were some instances where they found, not in the same groups, but that it was used as a way of honoring the dead. So, like somebody who you loved passed on, like Adam, and you ate them as a way of making them a part of you in this kind of like
hmm
proto Eucharist or something like that, proto communion. And so like but it's a very literalized form of it, where it's like that kind of magic where the thing somehow represents, but it's like also like real or whatever at the same time. I mean, and so like there's so much interesting, anthropological possibilities here, but they express reservations about it, and then so like there's obviously some
Except
problems.
for Bea, right? She doesn't,
Yeah,
because
so it's
she
Well,
interesting.
like
yeah,
if
because
that he's
they're literally starving. So
yeah.
we didn't really stress that. I should say I really didn't stress that in the beginning of my summary. Like they are dying essentially, right?
Hmm.
I don't even know when the last time they ate because I do we ever see them eat anything the whole entire
I don't
time
think they even
until the
landed a
They,
visit,
cannibalism?
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think
So
like so right before that scene too, like well, I mean part of like what they thought that the creature had been attracted to them, right, was because Bea was having her first period,
yes,
and
yes,
Adam was going after her as
yes,
a
right.
secondary possibility in case the
Because
baby
old
died
girl
or
with the
whatever. And then
baby was
yeah,
not surviving. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So I think, and she's basically had said like she's not going to go, with them, and they have to
right.
stay together as a pack, and that was the only way of surviving. But I think that he became her enemy. So I do wonder, like,
Hmm.
was she not also because she and had the courage to kill him, because she hated him, like
I
too,
think
and
there
like
was, I think
well,
there
and
was
then
a
it is
little bit
suffering
of that.
too, and like
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and yeah, calories. But the other thing I was going to say, anthropologically, again, there was this big debate, and it was like really rancorous and hardcore. These two guys, and I can't remember their names right now, two famous anthropologists came out with a book that claimed that like women didn't have a lot of choice in the matter of who they were impregnated by. They even went so far as to claim that like rape was the norm rather than consent. And so this comes from this really interesting revision that Darwin wound up making to the whole evolutionary picture. What he said, like female choice actually affected evolution a lot. So in terms of like, females, choosing which guys to go
stronger,
with, and so they were
healthier
looking for
males, yeah.
the certain traits that were getting selected for through the choice of the female. But then these guys came along and said, from their understanding, their record or whatever, no, like females hadn't been choosing. That they were that because nature would have selected for males who just like uh, you know impregnated women without their consent. That because that would have been that would have been the norm. And so yeah, and then in this movie they have Adam saying to her like not giving her a choice of any kind, just saying, yeah, so this isn't working out with this other lady, so you're next,
Yeah.
basically.
Which they don't go into it, but of course, immediately my first thought, because we realize that Adam's son, Heron, the one that was kidnapped, is not the biological child of Adam's new mate, the
Right.
lady that's pregnant, right? So I'm like, well, what happened to the first lady? Like, I like nobody ever talks about that. I'm like, that's kind of
Yeah.
scary.
I bet
Maybe
she
you guys
died.
shouldn't be. Yeah,
Like
I'm like, maybe you guys
women
shouldn't
probably
be
died all the
following
time
him.
for like, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. That's true. But yeah, no, and Marty, I know we've talked about this before, about that study those two anthropologists did about women not having consent. And I'm not going to disagree with that, but I just say like it could be a little bit of both, right? It could be a little bit of column
Yeah, it's
A and
probably
a
more
little bit of
like it.
column
Yeah,
B.
yeah.
I think there were non-consensual, obviously, but I also probably think there were some like badass women who were like, "No, I don't want to be with you." Like I'm gonna go off on my own, or I'm gonna find somebody else, or whatever, right? I think there's probably some of those one-offs as
yeah.
well.
I'm sure that, like, I think that there was also sort of a pack selection of who could mate and who couldn't, right? So, like,
Interesting. Yeah.
Adam, there, I think he was also denying his, I don't know if it was his brother or whoever, however he was related
Greer.
to him, Greer,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
Greer was the beta, male there, or like, or
Right.
whatever, like
And
down the chain.
right.
And so, I mean, I think even just through pack, um, order or whatever,
Hmm.
that's kind of how it was chosen who was going to sleep with the women,
Right.
in the pack. And so those traits of being able to be the strongest, and toughest,
Right.
um, probably also, were brought forward
Yeah, yeah.
as well. Because if you had any kind of, um, what would be considered like a weaker gene or something that would make you, a little less able to hunt and defend,
Hmm.
you probably weren't getting any.
Yeah. But you could tell that Bea was definitely into Greer. I mean, they were
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
into
I thought
each
they were going to
other.
end up right, that was
Yeah.
going to be the couple that
Hmm.
would survive.
Right, right. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. So all of the group but Greer end up cannibalizing Adam's body to avoid starving. So Greer, poor Greer, he unsuccessfully attempts to lead the group through the woods. Oldall, is it Oldall, believing that they are being stalked by a demon, he blames Bea's menstrual cycle and attempts to sacrifice her with help from Ave. And I was just like, whew, there's a lot going on in this movie.
There
Right.
is.
I think me and Marty said that when we were watching it. We were like, there is a lot going
Well, again,
on.
history of
Hmm.
religions wise, there's always been evidence. Wherever there's human beings, there's evidence of sacrifice, human sacrifice.
Oh, I thought you were
Uh,
going to say
uh,
of drama.
well,
That
yeah,
too.
that for damn sure. But yeah, and so you just wonder how the thought like came into early hominid, where and when it came from, that you would have to like either there was some defilement, which is talked about in this one in terms of menstruation, because we certainly know a lot about purity laws about around menstruation in the history of religions, but there's also the idea of propitiating some demon or some god or whatever by sacrificing a human life. And there's even these kind of transition moments in the history of religions again into animal sacrifice, and sort of like the making sacrifice more of a metaphor and all these kind of stuff. But like, back at this time, just this is a very interesting way to portray, how sacrifice would like pop into somebody's mind, where, it's this kind of like superstitious, I guess, from our
Mhm.
perspective, like thing you need to do or whatever.
Well, is
Yeah.
that another thing, like where, is that inherent to humans, like that sort of, underlying violence, you know,
Yeah.
as things get more desperate, right? So
Mm.
does that when our, because they started as this close-knit pack, right, or whatever, all have their roles, and as they go through this, those roles degrade, and the whole idea of like their society degrades as well, right? So I just wondered, like, if one of these is just a theme of the earliest forms of like war, like where did some of this come from, and is that just like are the creators of this movie trying to say that that's inherent in us, this sort of like that we humans and even our ancestors will degrade down into violence towards each other if the circumstances are just right. So even like sacrificing, maybe it occurs to you because you're like, well, everything else, nothing else has worked, so I'm just going to, see if killing my, fellow human being is a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of my experience of watching tons of zombie apocalypse horror movies, the breakdown of society is definitely happening the more desperate you get. I mean, people will kill each other, they will throw each other in front of
Right.
into it's named like, I always tell Marty like the humans are the monsters or the real monsters,
And
yeah,
this
we
movie for
definitely,
sure.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We will definitely turn on each other in a heartbeat for survival. And I agree with you. I think it's just maybe as simple as like some kind of survival instinct that we have where we're like pushing people in
Yeah.
front of us,
Right. You want to run
So
faster than the slowest
yeah,
person in the group. So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Right,
Yet there
right.
was this unity that Andrew talked about, at least at the beginning. I mean, to convince people to take off in a shit boat, like to somewhere you don't know where it is. I mean, you got to have some. If it's not love, it's some kind of loyalty or hope or something. And I mean, that could be the interesting I don't know, religious imagery around I'm going to bring the light here or whatever, that just like seeing that confidence like sucked them in. But then at the same time, you see this fall apart so quickly.